Sarah, do you have a favorite poem?
Oh yes, my favorite is probably Loveliest of Trees, the Cherry Gnome, but I also like this Japanese poem, whose name I can't remember, but it's about how we relay the morning from one latitude to another.
Do you have a favorite poem? Or poem?
Tough one. I mean, favorite poems? Off the top of my head, I'd have to say Jabberwocky.
Oh,
It's my favorite.
I read a translation of that into Japanese and it was terrible.
Really?
Well, it's
Wow.
one of those that doesn't translate well because
I just feel
a lot
very
of words are made
sorry.
up.
Yeah, I feel very sorry for anybody trying to translate Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass in general into any other language.
Doesn't even make sense in English.
Well, the nonsense poetry especially is notorious. And especially since so much of the meaning is derived from words that A, don't exist, and B, more often than not, the sound of the word is just as important as any meaning that is ascribed to the word.
It's to work with the
in
cadence of it.
context. The cadence and also
Snickers
the color, the general mood or atmosphere that you're trying to create.
Or-
Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the claws that bite, the teeth that snatch. Beware the Jub bird,
Jaws that snatch, actually.
jaws that snatch. You just ruined my momentum,
Sorry.
Jesse.
The Juju bird.
'Twas brilliant.
Beware the Jub bird,
I
not the
said Juju.
Juju bird. You have Juju magic, and then you have the Jub bird.
It's a
Come on!
Juju.
You have the what now?
Bree, do you have a favorite poet or poem?
Do you have a favorite poet or poem? I enjoy Shel Silverstein because I grew up on him.
Always fun.
Shel Silverstein is really good, yeah.
But I also enjoy reading the Hebrew Psalms and Song of Solomon because they have a way
Most of them are written to his mistresses. They're very sweet.
Well, Song of Solomon's between lovers, yeah.
Your nose is like the trees of Lebanon.
She had a big nose.
No, that was considered beautiful back
Yes.
then.
But a lot of, and I've spoken before that poetry is not always about rhyme or silliness, but also balancing of ideas or Samir things.
What about you, Allie?
Actually, I don't read poetry very much. But I really like slam poetry because I can listen to it. Because one of the things that happens when you're reading poetry is, like we were saying before, it's presentation and author's intention. And with like Latin poetry, I've translated a lot of that in class. A lot of that is the author's intention for how you read it is completely taken away because the structure of how you write Latin poetry is so specific. It's basically when you're writing the words, you have like dactyl, dactyl, spondy. And then you would know, oh, this is epic poetry. And then you would have like dactyl, dactyl, dangling foot. Then it would be love poetry. And you were basically writing how the bard, because these were always sung, would sing it and emphasize it. So, but in English poetry, because that's the only other language that I've read, a lot of it is up to interpretation. Like, a lot of people, when they're discussing Emily Dickinson, they say, oh, did the dashes at the end, are those actually periods, or did she just have bad handwriting? Because if you look at her recipes, she used dashes instead of periods. So I really like slam poetry, like Taylor Molly and the Kays. They're really awesome.
Do you have a favorite poem?
Jesse, stop trying to get comments.
That's what you do on YouTube. Put it in the comments below.
Jesse, stop talking to the audience. It's just a camera. It can't hear you.
Alright, so guys,
Can it?
I mean, it has an ear of sorts.
I would
That's a
like
speaker.
each of you
Microphone.
to tell me what do you think is the most fun kind of poetry to write, and what do you think is the hardest kind of poetry to write?
I like rhyme. I make great time.
Free verse is the hardest, single-handedly, because, yes. And it's also, because it's the hardest, it's also the most commonly abused. Because people think it's the easiest. Say, oh, I can just put anything down, I don't really have to be that specific, don't have to be, there's no structure, so I can just do anything. False, 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 false. When you break away from structure, you have to be exponentially more careful about every single word and gesture that you use.
So what you're saying is free verse is only called that because the author themselves is creating the structure that they use in the poem.
Or there might not be a repeated organizing structure or something specific that either, yes, is a pre-existing structure or some repeating line count or rhythmic structure that's organizing it, but there is still a structure, and that structure, and more to the point, everything in the poem, when you break away from structure, has to make up for the lack of, or make up, not for the lack, make up for everything that was provided for you by an existing structure, by being more careful about everything that you do.
So
That's
Jesse,
one of my pet peeves, is bad free verse poetry.
so Jesse hates free verse poetry.
No, I love free verse poetry. I hate bad free verse poetry, which is
Enjoy
99% of all free verse poetry that's written.
So, what do you think
So
is
he
most
likes the
fun?
1%.
So what's the most fun kind to write?
That's a hard one.
Do you write poetry?
I do write poetry.
Haven't you
Sometimes.
dabbled about a lot of different kinds?
Yeah.
He's Jesse, of course he has.
What I really like to do actually is either mix forms of poetry or more often take something, this is one of my favorite things to do, take something like a haiku form. And usually when I write haikus, I borrow from the haikus just the rhythmic structure and syllabic accounts, and then superimpose on that a narrative or something like that, and just going to write a series of haikus that when read together have an overarching narrative.
I like I said, I like to write poetry, but I like to kind of establish a rhythm when I'm writing.
Mhm.
And this is the most fun thing to do. You break the rhythm. You get to the point where, the audience can kind of sense the word that comes next, but you don't use that word. You say, like that poem that gave Jesse twitches, because he's like, you need to fix that last line. And I'm like, but that's the point. The masterpiece one?
Oh, that one.
That one.
That's a fun poem.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to write because I'm kind of OCD when I normally do stuff. So when I write stuff like that, it makes me twitch. And it makes the audience twitch too, which is double the fun. So I kind of write two versions. One version that works, and then I fix it. Break it.
So what
She
about you,
fixes
Bree?
it.
I fix it to bother you.
Guys, Bree's trying to talk.
Oh,
Bree.
hi Bree.
For me, I agree with Jesse. Free verse is a pain in the butt. I don't know if I have. I mean, if I have a favorite style, I like kind of the more rules, the more the imagination flourishes. So like anything with like strict rules, it's fun. I like to stick to that. But for me, like for when I write poetry, I can't really think it out. I have issues with that. So it's always like I've written my best poetry in high school about 3 hours before it's due.
Like
and
you
it's
do.
turned out really good. Like it's my best work because it's my heart's pounding. I have to work, and so my brain starts moving. And sometimes it causes you to crash, but a lot of times it causes you to swerve in ways you never imagined. Sometimes my best work is inspired by other poems or other songs, and it might be in sonnet form. It might be a free verse, but with a very strict pattern. It always changes with me. I have eclectic tastes.
So
For those of you who are incoming freshmen or freshmen already at University of Delaware,
We're all
think
crazy.
about coming to UD. This is what you're going to deal with when you come to our club.
But do come anyway, because you'll really enjoy it.
You might
We
even
promise.
become a part of these
not, sorry, not Sistina, Villanelle.
Yes,
Villanelle?
Villanelle.
Look at
That's
this,
good. That's what I was
that's
thinking of
define it.
anyway, actually.
Alright, so a villanelle is a poem that consists of 5 stanzas, which each have 3 lines, followed by a single stanza with 4 lines. So in total, it has 19 lines.
They're so much fun.
So the hard part is that you have these 2 refrain lines, which repeat throughout the poem, and there's this whole structure which I'm not going to give to you. You can look it up on Wikipedia if you really want.
You probably
And
know.
You also have to rhyme things with the refrain. So, like, do not go gentle into that good night. Old age burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. That's a very famous example of a villanelle, and they're very difficult to write because the structure is so strict, and because you do have to keep repeating the same thing over and over.
And over.
Yes.
Some great villanelle that use a lot of enjambment.
Other than that, I think haikus are hard to write because I try to write Japanese style haikus, not
Mhm.
modern style, for traditional Japanese style haikus, not modern style haikus. But they're fun, and I also think that three verse is very fun and not actually that hard. I heard a Villanelle, that was hard enough.
I have a question. The Highwayman, what is that?
The Highwayman, you mean that band with Johnny Cash in it?
No, the poem.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Have you ever read The Highwayman?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm actually not.
I would suggest.
Hey, if I couldn't read Taylor Molly, we can't read this.
No, we
You don't
can't.
have to read it.
Link in the description.
Unfortunately.
Probably
Yes.
not. Look it up.
But it's like a song, and I would suggest Lorena McKinnott's. She sings this, The Highwayman. If you love Celtic music or any kind of folksy music, it's wonderful. That's my personal opinion, not the club's.
Oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
all very opinionated people. No one in this club this club as a whole does not have a concise opinion on anything. Because we're human, mostly.
And this
Human.
is just like part of the board plus the former president.
Okay, so summary. Poetry. It's anything that's not prose. It focuses. Again, poetry is something that you have to define by its opposite, because there are a lot of different types of forms and styles, and the definition that we all decided that we liked was it's a type of speaking or writing that emphasizes certain words.
And it's something that focuses on the prosodic elements of speech rather than the semantic content. Which basically means how it's said or is meant to be read if it's down on a page versus the meaning of the words itself. I mean, in many poems, the semantic content is also very important, but the part that distinguishes poetry from prose is that the prosodic elements are held in much higher importance.
It's the words themselves.
What are you looking up on my laptop?
Format of The Highwayman.
The words themselves hold equal or greater importance to the content being delivered by those words. That's poetry.
Awesome.